Are you stuck? If so, it's really common in this sort of situation. But let me share a letter that one of our past participants wrote regarding an insight she had that allowed her to move on. I picture forgiveness like a thick white gym rope. As I'm holding it in my small hands, I know it's long, but I can't see where it ends. I can tell it leads to something that holds the blame for all the wrongs I've suffered and all the hurt I've experienced. Holding on to that rope represents a semblance of control, a need to find a logical conclusion that there was someone or something to blame for all my pain. Letting go of that rope would be like letting go of the need to find the source at fault for something so deeply wounding. It feels like I would be surrendering the need to find logical justification for all my sadness and confusion. Without something to blame, the world just doesn't make sense. So letting go of that rope, forgiveness, makes the world seem erratic and scary. In my quiet time of continual prayer, I've learned to do EMDR on myself as I fall in and out of rest. I ask the Lord to let me receive what He might want me to discern and to wait faithfully as my heart and my mind try to sift through conflicting thoughts. Today, He led me to an image of myself as a confused 5-year-old girl, wanting to do everything I could to avoid my mother's anger and to feel loved and a closeness to my father that I never had. I pictured myself at that age, holding that heavy white rope, wishing I knew why I felt it was so important to hold on, even though I couldn't see where it ended. I saw myself in a gorgeous field, filled with warm sunlight. I could see all of my pain and sorrow, but desperately desired just to be in that field. I pictured God walking in that field, inviting me to join Him. But in order to join Him, I'd have to let go of that rope that anchored me to some unknown destination. As my eyes were focused on that field, I saw you, my husband, and all the confusion and despair and anger and sadness that I have felt. And when I looked again, God revealed both of us as children, holding hands in the sunlit field before the broken world had tainted any part of who God meant either of us to be. We were smiling, happy and innocent. I felt peace and contentment as the warmth of God's love covered us. And it was finally at that point that I knew I could let go of the rope. I understood that there really isn't anyone or anything to blame. The brokenness started from the beginning of time and is shaped generations before we came along. The only way to move forward is in faith, in forgiveness, and by holding His hand while surrendering our future to Him. I forgive you. There are 5 stages of grief according to Kubler-Ross's work: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And all of us, to move forward, have to somehow come to a place where we just can accept it is what it is. I mean, okay, that happened. Now what? Because until we can let go of the old, we can't transition forward. And sadly, when it comes to infidelity, I personally think that it's that bargaining stage that so often we get caught in, which is exactly what this woman is speaking about in the letter that she wrote. For most people, they have a general understanding of what occurred. The problem isn't kind of getting a bit of the picture of what's happened. It's we get stuck on trying to understand why. And it's like, was it my fault? Am I a fool for staying there? I mean, if I'd been better, maybe if I had been more loving, more attentive, or how could I not have seen this? If I could have only seen that, maybe I could have prevented this, or if only you had done this, or if you're this way, and trying to understand what in the world was your motive that would cause that, because I've got to make logical sense of it if I'm going to be able to move forward. And we hope that if somehow we can make sense of it, if we can truly understand the why, that somehow I think that will stop that hurt. It won't hurt so bad, that there's got to be a good reason. The only problem is, the majority of the time, you're only going to be able to understand certain parts of it. It will never all make sense. You can't expect something that so often is really illogical, where a person is acting out of their character or out of the way that they've normally been, or even if it's yourself and you've done something that normally is way beyond how you normally are. You can spend the rest of your life continuing to spin around that, but it will keep you from moving on. It'll keep you from moving on to acceptance. So how do you move on? Because at A Fair Recovery, that's really our hope for you, that you find an extraordinary life of meaning and purpose, that this isn't the thing that defines you, that it can be the thing that refines you. And if there were any way that there was a magic wand that I could wave to somehow undo the damage done, I would, because I hurt for all of you, all of us who have gone through this. But there's just not. And I believe that one of the ways that you move forward through the grieving process is to set your goal on finally getting to a place of acceptance and beginning to give up on maybe even understanding why. Just like she mentioned in that particular letter, it's okay. I mean, there's a part of me that needs to hang on to that, to understand, to make logical sense of it. But at some point, I need to just finally stop that pursuit, let go of that rope, and come to a place of acceptance, to understand that there really is a new life after this travesty that has occurred. Not trying to minimize that. Some people might even say, well, if I were able to move on, maybe it would mean that what happened here wasn't as bad as I think it is. Maybe it would just look like a minor paper cut, when in reality it was a major backstabbing, or maybe I would be a fool for not really being able to make logical sense of it. But to me, what's foolish is if we spend the rest of our life stuck in the bargaining stage, trying to understand, trying to blame, rather than getting a new life. So I want to encourage you today. Try to move forward and find a new life, and try to accept what is, and maybe all you know is all you'll ever know, but it's enough. Something really horrible has happened. Accept it, and hopefully begin to move forward and find that new life.